Now! Hi guys, it's Nick from Kicking Goals, and in this video today I'm going to do my 2025 season predictions. So I'm going to do my ladder predictions, my grand final predictions, the premiers and the runners up, and I'm also going to do the medal winner predictions. So first of all, I'm going to do the ladder predictions. So let's get underway. In 18th, we've got Richmond. Richmond had a horrible year last year. They only had the 2 wins. Dustin Martin retired last year, and players like Daniel Rioli, Liam Baker, Shai Bolton and Jack Graham all went to different teams in the off-season. So that doesn't help. And they've also got injuries as well. So if they want to be some competitive during the season, Tim Taranto and Jacob Hopper would have to stand up. And Sam Layla, the number 1 pick, might be a decent pickup. But he is injured at the moment. I'm not sure how long he's out for, because he got injured in the practice match against West Coast, but hopefully he's going to be alright, because he could be a superstar for the Tigers. Yeah, so I think Richmond will finish on the bottom of the ladder once again and get the wooden spoon. Now, 17th spot, we've got the Essendon Bombers. Essendon, well, they started the season off pretty well. They were second on the ladder at one stage, but they fucked up because they always fuck up. Like the last 2 years, they start the season off promising and they fuck up at the end, like they always do, because they're a no-hoper team. They're useless, hopeless. If they want to be some sort of decent side this year, they need players like Ben McKay, Jay Gresham, Todd Goldstein, which is their oldest player, I'm pretty sure. They all need to step up. And also Sam Draper, Zach Merritt and Darcy Parish, those sort of players. If they want to win more games, they have to be more competitive, and they need all those players to step up. You know what I mean? 16th, we've got the West Coast Eagles. West Coast did alright in the off-season with picking up Liam Baker, Matt Owies and Jack Graham from different teams. West Coast looked alright in the pre-season matches, so they are showing promising signs for this season so far. I'm looking forward to seeing Harley Reid playing again this year. It's a shame that he didn't win the Rising Star due to suspension, but he won Goal of the Year in his first year last year, so that's something to add to his achievements. He's going to be a really good player in the years to come, Harley Reid. And who knows, West Coast might win a few more games, but I still reckon they'll finish 16th. In 15th spot, we've got the Adelaide Crows. Adelaide Crows, well, they had a disappointing year last year after just missing out on the finals the year before. Isaac Rankin showed some promising signs for the Crows last year, in his first year for him after he got transferred from the Suns. Tex Walker's getting on with age. He didn't kick as many goals last year, so his season wasn't as good, but who knows what will happen with Tex Walker this year with his goal kicking. Rory Laird had a good year last year, so did Ben Keys. And if McAfee Nicks can get the Crows up and going next year, who knows, they could be half decent. But for me, the Crows will be 15th, I reckon. So in 14th spot, I have the Melbourne Demons. Well, since their 2021 premiership, they've gone downhill, you know. Last year was a terrible season for them. I don't know what's happened to them after their premiership in 2021. But Petrarca and Oliver are back training and they're playing well in the pre-season games so far, so they both could be due to a decent season. Gaunt's getting on with age. Who knows, he might retire soon. He might have a year or 2 left. If Melbourne want to be some sort of a good side, they need to get players like Petrarca and Oliver to dominate around the midfield and Gaunt to get the hit-outs in the ruck. And Bailey Fridge needs to kick bags of goals like he used to, if there's any chance of winning many games this season, Melbourne. 13th spot, we've got the Fremantle Dockers. Well, Fremantle Dockers. They had a great start to the year last year, but then they lost the plot and just missed out on the finals thanks to Port Adelaide for beating them in the last round. They were so unlucky to miss out on finals. You know, they looked like being a top 4 side early in the year, but Fremantle failed big time. And I don't think Fremantle will get any better this year. I know they've picked up Shai Bolton from Richmond, and he will be a superstar. And Sonny Walters, well, he's still playing to this day, and he's still kicking a few goals at his age, considering, you know, he's still got form, Michael Walters. Hopefully Fremantle will respond and maybe get into the finals, but I don't see it happening. They've got Luke Jackson, who had a good year last year. He's been good since joining the Dockers after he got transferred from Melbourne. He's a rising star winner too, but Fremantle, I just don't think they're going to be good enough to make the final, so I'm going to have them at 13th. In 12th spot, we've got the North Melbourne Kangaroos. North Melbourne, they finished in the bottom 4 last year. Nick Larkey didn't have the best year last year, neither did Cam Zerha. Zach Fisher had a decent year last year, but they did lose a couple of close games that they should have won. And I do feel sorry for them, but I still reckon North Melbourne this year might reach up another notch. They might have a decent year this year because they did pick up Luke Parker, Jack Darling and Caleb Daniel from different teams. All of them are premiership players themselves, so they'll add some experience to the side, and hopefully Alistair Clarkson can have a better year of coaching the Roos. 11th spot, we've got Collingwood. Well, Collingwood had a terrible year last year. After the premiership they won, they had a premiership hangover. Collingwood were the kings of close games the last few years, but although they did pick up Dan Houston and Tim Membry in the off-season, and they're two really good pickups. And if the Dacos brothers can dominate in the midfield, and Scott Pendlebury and Stu Sidebottom, the old players, can keep in touch with their good form, maybe they can get back into the 8 and bring some shine back into the 2023 form. They also need Lockie Schultz and Brody Mychek and Jamie Elliott to dominate in the forward line if they're any chance of making finals. Yeah, but they were unlucky to not make finals last year. So 10th, I've got the Gold Coast Suns. Gold Coast. Their season didn't go to plan last year. Damien Hardwick was there for his first year as coach at the Suns after being transferred from Richmond, but it's only his first year last year as coach. It'll probably take him a couple of years to get used to the Gold Coast theme, but hopefully the Suns will have a better year this year. Maybe get into the 8 if they're good enough, but they would need bags of goals from Ben King, and they need players like Noah Anderson and Matt Rowett to dominate in the midfield, and David Swallow, the veteran, to keep up his good work in the midfield as well. But I'm hoping the Suns will step up another notch this year and maybe get to the finals if they can. So 9th, the team that will just miss out on the finals, GWS. GWS, they had a good start to the season last year. They finished in the top 4. They played in 2 finals that they should have won. In the qualifying final, they played against Sydney. They were up by 27 points. They should have had that game in the bag, but they choked big time. In the semi-final, it was a lot worse. They were like 43 points up. They really should have had that game in the bag. But then Brisbane came back and won, with Joe Danaher kicking the winning goal. It was just unbelievable. And GWS got knocked out in straight sets. They picked up Jake Stringer in the off-season, so he might do okay with Jesse Hogan and Toby Green in the forward line. Now, 8th spot, we've got Port Adelaide. Well, Port Adelaide, they finished second on the ladder They got knocked out in the preliminary finals against Sydney. It wasn't their best game. They won in the semi-final against Hawthorn only just by 3 points. That game could have went either way, and in the qualifying final they didn't play their best at all against Geelong, and they got smashed by over 80 points. You know, Port Adelaide, they don't do well in finals, so they haven't done well in finals since 2007, since they made their last grand final. But they picked up Jack Lukosius and Rory Atkins in the off-season, and a couple other players, so maybe they'll do okay, but we'll wait and see. Like, Charlie Dixon retired at season's end last year, and at the end of this season, Ken Hickley will be resigning as coach. So in 7th spot, we've got the Western Bulldogs. The Western Bulldogs finished 6th on the ladder last year. They got knocked out against Hawthorn in the elimination final in an upset. It was a disappointing way to end the season. Like, I tipped the Western Bulldogs to finish 7th on the ladder this year, but at the moment they've got a lot of injuries. Like, Liam Jones is injured, Cody Wakeman, Adam Treloar, Marcus Bontempelli, you know, players like them are injured at the moment, so they might have a bit of a slow start to the season, which will be unfortunate to them. And they got rid of Bailey Smith to Geelong. They picked up Matthew Kennedy from Carlton. I'm not very happy with the Western Bulldogs taking Matt Kennedy away from Carlton, but I hope Matthew Kennedy does well for the Bulldogs this year. So in 6th spot, we've got St Kilda. St Kilda had a disappointing year last year, but they won 4 of their last 5 games. They had a strong finish to the season, including coming from 33 points down against Geelong in round 23. They did lose Tim Memory to Collingwood and Josh Battle to Hawthorn. They received Jack McRae from the Western Bulldogs, so that is something. Although McRae is getting old and hasn't played as much AFL lately, but you never know. He might surprise St Kilda and have a decent year. You know, he could help Jack Steele in the midfield. St Kilda have got a few injuries, including Max King. I think Max King will miss at least round 1, which is unfortunate for them. But we'll have to wait and see within the next 2 weeks if it's confirmed or not. Now in 5th spot, we've got Brisbane, reigning premiers. Brisbane, they're coming off a premiership. They've made amends from the year before after they lost to Collingwood. They have made amends and they won by 60 points in the premiership against Sydney, with Will Ashcroft being the Norm Smith medalist in just his 2nd year. Yeah, but I notice when Chris Fagan is on the bench, he's always chewing on chewing gum. I think that's when he's nervous when Brisbane are playing. I also think Brisbane might slide down this year because, you know, it might be a bit hard getting goals this year since Joe Danaher retired after the grand final. Yeah, but I thought Brisbane weren't going to win the premiership last year, you know, after starting 0-4, and I think they were like 15th or 16th on the ladder at one stage. You know, it's unbelievable to turn a season around just like that and still win the premiership and win every single final as well. Like, they've beaten Carlton, they've beaten GWS, they've beaten Geelong, and they've even beaten the Swans in the big dance. They were the miracle team last year, but I just don't think Brisbane will do it again this year. They'll make finals, but I just don't think Brisbane will go back to back. So in 4th spot, I've got Hawthorn. Hawthorn had a great year last year. Like, they started the season 0-6, and they were on the bottom of the ladder for a bit, but they somehow turned their season around remarkably and made the finals. and finished 7th on the ladder. And they also upset the Bulldogs as well, can you believe it or not? And they almost beat Port Adelaide in the semi-finals as well. So Hawthorn will be pushing for a top 4 spot this year, I reckon. I reckon the Hawks are going to be up there for one of the premiership contenders this year. You know, just like they were back in 2013, 14 and 15. They might be getting back to that sort of form, which is good to see for Hawthorn. Now in 3rd spot, we've got the Geelong Cats. Geelong have been good all over the years since I've started watching the AFL. They've been the most successful teams in my time of watching the footy. All those premierships I've seen. But they should have made the grand final last year. They choked a 23-point lead in the preliminary final against the Lions in an upset loss. Like, they did beat Port Adelaide in an upset by over 80 points, as I mentioned earlier. Tom Hawkins retired at season's end, and so did Zach Tui. But I don't think Geelong will be slipping down, because they did pick up Bailey Smith from the Western Bulldogs and Jack Martin from Carlton. But they normally turn ordinary players to fantastic players, Geelong, from different teams. They do that every time. I don't know how they do it, Geelong, but they always find a way. I mean, it's just unheard of from Geelong. So that's why I'm putting Geelong in 3rd spot. So in 2nd spot, I've got the Sydney Swans. Sydney made a grand final last year. They finished on top of the ladder. They were the minor premiers. Unfortunately, they got smashed in the grand final. They lost Luke Parker in the off-season. Their grand final performance was just not on, you know. It wasn't their best day last year. Their year ended poorly, which resulted in a 60-point loss to the Lions. But if Isaac Heaney, Chad Warner and all the other midfielders can dominate, maybe they can try and bounce back and go one better. You never know. And Brodie Grundy, he had a really good first year at the Swans last year. He was one of their best. If he can go up another notch, Grundy, who knows what will happen with the Swans. Now, on top of the ladder is Carlton, the greatest team of all. Carlton, they finished 8th on the ladder last year. They got knocked out by the Lions and they conceded the first 60 points of that game. I knew the season was done after we conceded the first 60 points of that game. We were no chance of coming back and winning that game. Not from 60 points down. Brisbane were just too good on the night, and Carlton, yeah, we had a few injuries. That's what cost us. We were 2nd on the ladder at one stage, and we were on track of finishing in the top 2, maybe even on the top of the ladder if we were lucky. But that didn't go to plan. If we didn't have any injuries, we would have finished at least 2nd on the ladder, you know, but we didn't. But I reckon this year, Carlton might bounce back, respond in a big way, and finishing on top of the ladder. We picked up Nick Haynes from GWS. He was very promising in the practice matches, especially in that practice match against GWS. We did get rid of Matt Kennedy, Jack Martin and Matt Owies to different teams, but we've still got a really good team on paper. We just can't afford any injuries this year, you know. If Carlton can be some really competitive side this year, maybe they can try and go all the way. You just never know. Now, in the grand final, I reckon the two teams will go head to head will be Carlton versus Sydney. And the premiers for 2025 is Carlton. And the runners-up will be Sydney. Now, the medal winners. The first medal winner is the Norm Smith medal, and that will go to Patrick Cripps. Now, the Brownlow medal will also go to Patrick Cripps. The MVP winner will go to Isaac Heaney. The Rising Star winner will go to Sam Laidler. And the Coleman Medal winner will go to Charlie Curnow. If he can have some sort of a good year and bounce back after his season-ending injury, hopefully he can bounce back and maybe kick 80 to 90 goals and win his third Coleman. He would have won it last year if he didn't get injured. But hopefully he can make amends and win his third this year. So thank you all for watching this video, guys. Please like, comment and subscribe, and I'll see you all in the next video very soon. See you guys.